So our top talker tonight, confusion over the U.S. Census and a letter that some Utahns are seeing show up in their mailboxes.
Yeah, the letter definitely has some red flags, but to be safe, the KSL investigators gave it to Gepthardt to check it out, and here's what he found.
You want my whole name?
Yes, please.
Colleen here will be the first to tell you her last name is a mouthful.
I go Campbell/Balagui.
But this letter she got in the mail from the U.S. Census Bureau makes things easier.
I'm a resident.
Actually, the impersonalness of this mailer was one of the signs, Colleen says, that this might not be legitimate. It's also aggressive. Your response to this survey is required by law, it says in big, bold lettering. And it wants Colleen to go to a website and answer personal questions. That is not the website that the Census Bureau has been advertising for its upcoming national census.
Okay.
Colleen did as instructed, but says she's been worried about it ever since. Who is really on the other end of that website? She asked me to investigate.
You know what you're doing better than I do, so maybe you can tell me.
You're worried you've been scammed.
Well, I'm worried I could have been.
All these questions.
I took it to Corrales Ruiz Jimenez, spokesperson for the U.S. Census Bureau.
I got a call from a Sandy woman who got one of these letters and she was scared it was a fraud. Is it a fraud?
No, it's not.
Ruiz Jimenez says the letter that Colleen got is part of what's called the American Community Survey.
The census is only every 10 years, but we conduct surveys throughout the year.
The letter is legitimate, and I delivered the good news to Colleen.
So it is.
And it is. It's really them. And so what they...
Okay, yeah, scary when you don't, you just don't know. Especially you were mentioning the website was different than the one advertised. It says it was required by law.
Right, and so, you know, the census is next month, right? And we've seen a lot of advertisements for that. You have to, by law, be counted. Everyone in the whole country has to be counted by law. And so when this thing showed up about a month before, you know, anytime there's a major news story, the scammers kind of come out of the woodworks. And so this woman, rightfully so, was right to be suspicious, but turns out in this case, it was actually the census, and they used this community survey stuff for all sorts of, you know, figuring out how to disperse money. You know, the nonprofits use it. We here at KSL, we use the information from this in order to say, like, okay, here's how many people are in our viewing area, that sort of stuff.
Okay, so if people receive this in the mail, they should do it. They should.
If it's from if it says from the Census Bureau, and there's ways to check it out, but just because it isn't necessarily that official, you know, every 10 year they have to count you survey does not necessarily mean it's a fraud.
Okay, so and let's talk about the actual census. You mentioned it, it's actually next month, but there are some scams that people should watch out for.
Well, you know, yeah, again, anytime there is a major news event, and it doesn't get much bigger than the census, right? They got to count every human being in the country. Crooks will see opportunities and they will try to punch their way through those opportunities. So every 10 years, we of course see emails and phone calls and the sorts of things that come through where someone will try to say they're the Census Bureau in order to try to get their hands on your identity, in order to get you to compromise yourself and hand over personal information.
Okay. A lot of the things online this year, from what I understand, are they kind of shifting or?
It will start online.
Okay. But
if you don't answer online, there's a process. You know, they'll show up at your door, they'll knock on your door, hi, how you doing? You have to answer these questions. If you still don't do it, you know, you may get phone calls, that sort of thing. They tell me they do not email. Emailing is one thing they absolutely do not do. And the other thing that they said they'll do, so, you know, if you're worried about this being a scam or not, don't click on any links and emails. If you're worried about it being a scam, just get yourself to census2020.gov, and you can start there. And you because these letters we're going to get in the mail, in order to go online and answer, it's going to have a real specific barcode and some serial numbers specific to us, so we can make sure we're actually answering questions to the people who need this information.
Yeah, and what, I mean, how personal does the census actually get as far as information goes?
I mean, it's pretty personal. I mean, they're going to ask you your name, they're going to ask you your income level, they're going to ask you, you know, a lot of really personal stuff. What I think a more important question would be, what don't they ask you? They're not going to ask you your social security number. They're not going to ask you your bank account. If they may have some financial, especially with the community survey, some general financial questions, how much money does your household make? But they're not going to ask you for anything that would be compromising, no PIN numbers, nothing like that. And if anybody asks you, hey, you got to wire us a couple of bucks, or hey, you know, we appreciate the service that you're providing, can you give us a little money for it? Absolutely not the census.
Okay.
And if I may, real quick, one thing, if they do come to your door, if you don't answer online, if you get this letter in the mail and you don't answer, they will send someone to your door.
Okay.
But watch out for these people coming to your door. You know, there's ways to tell. They're going to have an official census lanyard, and they're also going to have an official census bag. The kind of thing that would be tough for a crook to duplicate. So if somebody shows up on your door and says, "Hi, I'm with the census. May I please have some personal information?" Look for some of those telltale signs.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Matt Gepthardt. We appreciate your perspective on this insight. And as you mentioned, surveys happening right now, but the actual census next month.
Surveys happen all the time, every week, every year, all year, but only once every 10 years. And this national survey will not start officially until next month.